Hello, this is George Garrels at the University of Arizona. I wanted to put together this video to tell you a little bit about how the Arizona LaserChron Center has been able to operate during this COVID situation here in the spring of 2020. You need to realize that in the past, our lab has operated with a continuous flow of visitors, visiting researchers coming through the lab. During any particular week, we might have 2 or 3 different groups of visitors, each of which would consist of maybe 2 or 3 different people, faculty members, graduate students, undergraduate students. And our purpose is to allow these researchers to generate the geochronologic data that they need for their projects, most of which are supported by the National Science Foundation. As part of the visit, we do a lot of training and interaction about the theory and methods of geochronology. The researchers drive the instruments during the acquisition of the data. Then we help them do all the data reduction, and by the time they leave at the end of their visit, they should have a data set which is pretty much ready to publish. You can imagine that this COVID situation has changed the way that we operate dramatically. Here in Arizona, the situation was that by the middle of March, we realized it was no longer appropriate to have people from elsewhere around the country or around the world coming to the lab. On March 30, our governor issued a stay-at-home order, and the university soon after began to restrict all activities on campus. We were provided with an opportunity to submit a plan to continue operating on essential research or high-priority research. And so we put this plan together in early April. The proposal was that we would continue to operate on samples that were for students who are planning to graduate this spring or during the summer, for NSF projects that were coming to an end again during the summer, for researchers who are planning to put in a proposal to the National Science Foundation during the summer and had requested an opportunity to generate pilot data through our lab for that proposal, and also in a few cases where we had contracts with companies with end dates either this spring or during the summer. As part of this proposal to the university to continue operating on that limited, restricted basis, we put together an operating plan whereby only our essential lab personnel would be operating on campus. Everybody else would be operating from home as much as possible through remote interaction. But for the essential people who have to be in the lab to keep the instruments operating, to be working on samples, our plan was to have a restriction of only 1 person per lab at a time, so not having 2 people in a lab at the same time. Anytime you're in the lab or working in open spaces on your way to the lab from home, wearing masks and wearing gloves. Whenever you come into a lab, whenever you leave a lab, to do a thorough wipe down with alcohol of all common surfaces, to not have any paper records that were being transferred between people, to do everything electronically, to have a system set up on our webpage where someone would log in when they go into a laboratory and then log out when they come out of a laboratory, just for safety, just to make sure that we know who's in which lab at any particular time. That proposal to continue operating on this essential research only plan was approved by the university in early April, and we've been operating in that situation ever since. Of course, one of the main challenges in operating this way has been to build in the interaction with our researchers that has become so important for our lab and for them. And because they were no longer able to come to the visit, we have put together 2 different ways of interaction. The first is Zoom sessions that we set up with researchers where they're able to, using an iPad on a tripod in each of our labs, to watch the operator operating the mass spectrometer, doing whatever is needed with samples, having some interaction about why we do things the way we do, giving them opportunities to ask questions for clarification, do a little bit of teaching also about the basic methods and theory behind geochronology. So a lot of the same interaction that we would do with visiting researchers when they come to the lab is now done through these interactive Zoom sessions. And we have our lab researchers standing by pretty much anytime Monday through Friday work hours available to set up and host these sessions.
So we're currently running spots that a user has picked on our laser, and while those are running, he's choosing another set of spots for his next sample. The biggest issue that we've been having is just getting users to download the software and to get Chromium on their computer. So Chromium only runs on PC, so it's a bit problematic for our Mac users. But we've been figuring out ways around that and trying to get a little more creative in how we're doing it. So right now we're doing team viewer picking, which allows people who have Macs to pick remotely. But a lot of the users are liking it a lot, and they've actually asked that if they come to the lab in the future, whether we could provide mosaics ahead of time for them to pick. It's actually given us a new way to develop different user interfaces for future visitors. It's been a bit of a challenge to get users to do remote data reduction and have them understand the process, but we have this new data reduction software in MATLAB that postdoc Kurt Sundell has developed, and it's made it a lot easier to kind of visualize the different data that comes out of the mass spec. So for example, you can see the laser turning on, the downhole fractionation, the laser shutting off, and the washout time. And these visualizations are making it much easier to kind of get our users up to speed. We weren't exactly ready to go online and to move all of our data reduction online, but one of the plus sides of this has been that it's getting users familiar with our new data reduction interface. And the new data reduction interface comes with a lot of plotting tools and analysis tools, which users are really excited about, and it's helping them reduce their data much quicker and understand it a lot better.
We have our visitor on Zoom right now, and so we try to have Zoom sessions scheduled in the lab. We set up a meeting, and then we give our researcher a tour of the lab, let them know what part they're interacting with and what they're running, and so they're actually using TeamViewer to run the laser. And then we're here checking behind and making sure all of that is correct, and then actually running the mass spec itself. And then our viewer is here on the iPad actually watching what's going on. So right now they're watching cleaning shots. When the run is actually going, they can watch the mass spec and make sure that there are no trips or any issues that we need to know about. And this is constantly evolving with this kind of chaotic time. So who knows what this will be like next week, constantly changing.
If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to reach out to us. You can do a quick search on the word LaserChron and pull up our webpage. Upper right, you'll find links to various pieces of information. You can find contact information for all of us in the lab. You can pull up our lab people page and learn a little bit about us, who we are. You can find the schedule of all of our different lab activities in our various labs. You can also pull up the daily schedule, which we're using now to keep track of who is doing what in each lab each day. You can also get access to the various YouTube videos that we have created recently to show all different aspects of our operation. You can also pull up the short course modules of various short courses that we've taught in the past, and also all the software that we've created that enables us to do this remote interaction. So thank you very much for tuning in. Please let us know if we can be of any assistance.